Hello Malaysians, my name is Professor Dr. Muhammad Tajuddin, and in this video I would like to make a comment on the political implication of PAS calling Malaysians Kafir Harbi within the perspective of nation building. Now, in a recent news, it was quoted by FMT that the DAP had asked PAS or called upon PAS to apologize for accusing the party, which is DAP, as being Kafir Harbi. This is shown in a YouTube video which I witnessed myself, and there is no doubt that the speaker, who is in all probability a PAS member, who is speaking within the knowledge of Anwar Musa in the background, that he has called the DAP as Kafir Harbi. And the purpose actually of that ceramah or that talk that was given is simply to argue that since UMNO, which is a Malay party which is having Muslim, working with DAP, and therefore UMNO also do not deserve the votes of Muslim because they are working with the enemies of Islam, because that is what Kafir Harbi means. It means non-Muslims who are the enemies of Islam, because Kafir refers to being non-Muslim and Harbi refers to the idea of abode of war, meaning being at war, in a situation of war. Now, of course, the implicit intention here is to garner votes, but there is a wider implication in terms of how do we relate ourselves when we allow such people to call upon other Malaysians as enemies of the religion of Islam. Now, in this situation, if we were to look at the meaning of the word Kafir Harbi, it is declaring the others as enemies. This is consistent with the action of PAS reading or reciting the Qunut Nazilah in Parliament when one of the members of Bersatu was suspended by the MPs of the unity government, which comprise of all Malaysians from Sabah, Sarawak, as well as from the peninsula, including Malays, Chinese, Indians, so including Christians, Muslims, whatever. They declared the Qunut Nazilah, meaning these are, in one sense, the enemy. Enemy of whom? Enemy of PAS, certainly, but to them, it is enemy of Islam. So in these two cases of calling Malaysians as Kafir Harbi, and I say that they are calling Malaysians because I view the DAP as being a party that is following the legal laws of this country, is in legal existence, and is consisting of Malaysians, all of them, whether they are Muslims, Christians, Hindus, and although other religions, as well as being Malay, Chinese, Indian, Kadazan, Iban, whatever. So this is a call by PAS to divide our country on the basis of their narrow understanding and narrow interpretation of Islam. Now, I wish that this lecture should be given by a mufti, by a professor of Islam, but I have known situations in the past where both of them are silent. Why they are silent, you can guess. Whether these people are also part of sympathizers of Parti Islam in Malaysia, or they are Muslims who think that the non-Muslim don't deserve anything that a Muslim should be fighting for, or they simply do not understand that the idea of nation building means we share a nation. It doesn't mean that one particular faith or one particular race is above the other, is dominant over the other, is far superior than the other. It doesn't mean that the majority race or faith would treat others any less or being subservient. So when the PAS member called the DAP as Kafir Harbi, for me it means that he is also calling Malaysians. And the DAP has membership not only among Malays and Chinese and Indians, but also membership in Sabah and Sarawak. And so this is a blanket accusation that is unfounded, that is insulting, and it is totally untrue, but only in the minds of the narrow-mindedness of the likes of Anwar Musa as well as the members of PAS. So in this video, I wish to comment on the implication of this statement. Now, the implication of this statement has a religious implication, which I will not discuss. Meaning, are they sinful if one calls another person kafir? All these aspects which I will not touch on. What I will touch on is, how are we as a nation going to move forward when we allow the legality of such persons without taking any action or without a severe advice by the powers that be that guards the religion of Islam against these people who divide our country by proclaiming part of our people as enemies of Islam. And that is not all. They don't just call non-Muslim in the AP, but they also say that those who help or those who work together with the DAP are also part and parcel of being the enemies of Islam. Now, how are we going to go about our daily life? How are we going to define our future if many Muslims believe like what Parti Islam se-Malaysia believes in? I don't even like to use the word Islam with this party. They are clearly not practicing the tolerance of Islam, the mutual understanding of Islam, how the Prophet had made friends with the non-Muslims, how the Prophet had non-Muslims as his guardian, which is his own uncle, and having the help of a Christian king. These are people who are non-Muslim, as well as having friends and having agreement with the Jews and the Christians in Medina. Clearly, the Prophet did not have these people as his enemies. Now, in a nation building, meaning that we are of different faith, we are of different race, must live together, or choose to live together, or have the opportunity to live together to build a new entity called Malaysia. Now, in doing so, sometimes we come to a situation of an issue where it makes us dislike each other. That is fine. Sometimes there is an issue and it makes us feel angry at one another. That's also fine because it's human. There is also a situation where we choose for a certain time not to mix with other race or other religion, but for a certain time because we do not understand it better, and also we feel a bit uncomfortable. And again, that takes time, that takes effort, that takes reading, reflections, understanding, and good advice from those who are better than us. But it is not okay for us to, if we have a disagreement, call each other enemies of a religion or enemies of one particular race. We cannot call if a Malay is unhappy with the Chinese, that the Chinese is the enemy of the Malay, because we live in the same nation. That should not happen. We cannot have a Muslim calling a Christian as enemies, because we are in the same boat. we are in the same situation. So how is it that we are going to live? Similarly, we cannot call another party which is not of our own. Let's say I'm from UMNO and I have disagreement with PAS or with Amanah or with the DAP, and I call these people are useless people. They are the enemies of Malays or of our political party. They are the enemies. Enemies in the sense that if the term Kafir Harbi is to have any meaning in at war, then you can kill each other with that regard. So we have to understand what is the situation with PAS calling other Malaysians as enemies. To me, it means that PAS as a political party cannot work with anybody or should not work with anybody, or that any other political party should not work with this party. I don't understand what Gerakan is doing with this kind of party. If PAS is angry at Gerakan, they will do the same thing. They will call Gerakan as Kafir Harbi. Once upon a time, they were friends with DAP. I know because I lived through the period of Reformasi where PAS was with the Barisan Alternative, and they work with the DAP and they were friends. But now they are calling the DAP as Kafir Harbi. So how is that going to stop them from calling Gerakan or any of those who call themselves friends of PAS because they are not Muslim? When PAS feels like it, they will just interpret religion in calling these people as Kafir Harbi. So it means that no political party in Malaysia should be working with such a party because they are easily swayed with the idea of enmity in that regard. Secondly, we must ask the question, does PAS understand what it means to be a nation? Or they only understand the idea of Malaysia as they being in power and everybody else are second-class and third-class citizens? Meaning all political parties that lost the election are second-class citizens, and all non-Muslims are also, they are then third-class citizens, and worse, liberal Muslims, perhaps like myself, are the lowest rung of the ladder. So if that is the case, should PAS as a political party exist in Malaysia? I understand in the past that someone has mooted the idea that religion should not be used in a political party, and therefore it should not be allowed to exist. I was at that time a member of PAS, and I disagreed with that because the leadership of PAS were talking about the religion of Islam in the correct manner of what the Prophet was saying in terms of justice for all, tolerance and compassion for all. But now PAS has totally gone off track from the original idea about Islam for all, in the sense that Islam is the umbrella of welfare, compassion, justice for all. It's no longer that a principle. So the question here is that should religion be part of a political party ideology? What happens if we have a party or a Christian party or a Hindu party or a Buddhist party? This may become a problem if the interpretation is very narrow-minded to the extent of calling each other enemies of themselves. So these are aspects in which we need to consider. Finally, I wish to say that in calling Malaysians as Kafir Harbi or enemies of Islam at war, then I think this is no longer a situation where Malaysia can move forward. Malaysia will forever be trapped in this quagmire where mistrust like this, not just because PAS is saying it, but because the silence from the Mufti office, from the professors of Islam in public universities, from the NGOs like ABIM and Ikram that I have been listening to in the sense of silence. Like the movie The Sound of Silence is actually emboldening such daringness, blatantness, and insulting behavior of this party against good Malaysians. All of us have children, all of us want a good life in Malaysia, and that requires a mutual understanding and a mutual cooperation, and most importantly, mutual respect and according dignity to all. There is no respect, there is no dignity by declaring a legal political party whose members are non-Muslim as Kafir Harbi. There's no dignity, no respect, nothing at all. Even in Islam, it's even worse than that. But of course, PAS has its own version of Islam, and unfortunately, many Malays who do not bother to examine their own religion and only supports based on their sentiment and does not understand sins of working together with those who have nothing but the visions of power for themselves, to wreak havoc and only to gain wealth only for themselves, and not to do justice as leaders of this nation. So with that, I would like to thank you for your time in listening to my commentary.